What's up, everyone, and welcome to ClearTalk. And in this video, we're going to be talking about the Obamacare subsidies and how it looks more and more like, as long as Mike Johnson gets his way, these subsidies are going to be set to expire. With maybe a plan? Concepts of a plan? I don't know. So we're going to talk about that. So welcome to ClearTalk. If you're new, if you'd like to check out more videos from the channel, please do so. Consider subscribing, like, share, comment, all that good stuff to help get more videos in front of more people. If you'd like to check out videos from my other channels, JMDPLAY Puzzling there. If you like what you see there, consider subscribing to those channels as well. That'd be amazing. Help grow those channels. If you'd like to give any kind of support, there's Patreon there. For $3 a month, you can support any of the channels you would like, and to help grow those channels, help grow Patreon, help grow the JMD Nation, and contribute however you would like. Any way you contribute or any way you support is very much appreciated, and I thank you very, very, very much. And if you would like, if you are returning, you're freaking amazing. Thank you very much for coming back over and over and over again. And yeah, keep coming back because we love you here. All right, so what we know, we previously talked about is, we had the shutdown, the fight from the Democrats to try to get these subsidies extended. Then they just caved. We had six Democrats cave in the Senate and allow for future talks, promises that subsidies will be brought up this month. And that's the reason why we caved and the shutdown was continued or stopped, and their little continuation bill was passed without them. Then you had Schumer last week bring up about propose a proposal for a 3-year extension, which we talked about, and how, yes, clearly that was out of the realm of what Republicans would even even remotely agree to. But that was to bring them to the table. It was bring them to the table to where they either would have to agree to it or some sort of form of it, or bring their own a plan or something, to deal with, either the expiring subsidies or as a counter alternative to letting them expire, or just do nothing and let them expire and see where where everything falls. And that would be, which would be disastrous for the GOP, honestly, because people are concerned and people are worried about their healthcare rising, and that, is a big part of the reason why, like I said, the MTG is going on her thing outside of the Epstein files. Is healthcare, and that she's actually concerned about the ACA, and she represents the Republicans that are concerned about the ACA and about those subsidies. Yes, they would like, something, their own plan or something that, would benefit them more, or whatever the case. But to just ignore the fact that these are expiring and that healthcare costs are going to skyrocket without you giving some sort of a plan to subvert that or change that or fix that or offset that or something, doesn't make a lot of political sense. So I have a little article here. Oh, hold on one second. Forgot that I adjusted this for my previous. Oh, there we go. Okay. All right. We have GOP moves to let Obamacare subsidies expire. This is from Politico. As Trump promises money to the people. Republican leaders on Capitol Hill are moving decisively away from extending key Obamacare tax credits that help more than 20 million Americans pay for health insurance, following direct cues from Donald Trump, while also stoking ire among many of the GOP who fear severe political repercussions. In a Monday interview with Politico, which I did watch, and that was crazy. Might do a video on that one. Trump refused to endorse a continuation of the expiring subsidies, even as his administration faces mounting pressure to address rising costs for Americans. He instead laid out his own vision for healthcare. I want to give money to the people, not to the insurance companies. Senate Republicans now plan to offer a proposal for a vote Thursday that would let the subsidies expire and instead encourage the use of health savings accounts. That abrupt shift in strategy is in turn putting new pressure on House GOP leaders to come up with their own health plan, according to 4 people who attended a closed-door meeting with Speaker Mike Johnson and senior Republicans Tuesday afternoon. Yet, after after months of pressure from competing factions, lawmakers inside the meeting didn't reach a conclusion, and Johnson is still trying to figure out what the plan should be. House GOP staff Tuesday were prepping a healthcare framework to give Republicans something to vote on next week before they leave Washington for the holidays. One that, for now, does not include an extension of enhanced Obamacare subsidies. Okay. For many Republicans facing tough re-election races and even some in deep red areas with a high reliance on the tax credits, following Trump's one-sentence policy prescription would harm Americans and make for political disaster as the December 31st expiration of the tax credits loom. From Brian Fitzpatrick of Pennsylvania, we can agree that the current construct is flawed, but that letting them expire is not acceptable. That doesn't work. Fitzpatrick is pushing a competing proposal that would extend the tax credits for 2 years while imposing an income cap and other eligibility restrictions. It's like, yeah, we need to extend these because we don't want people to, lose their health care or not be able to afford health care, rather. But we want to impose some caps and we want to, restrict some eligibility so that people can't have it. That's the Republican mindset there. Let's just try to restrict as many people as possible. Try to kick them off. Much like we've lifted people off of SNAP, which translates to we kicked them off of SNAP. That's what that means. Fitzpatrick bill also includes new HSA provisions and a bipartisan package aimed at lowering drug costs, but he said it was unrealistic for GOP leaders to completely replace the subsidy framework in a matter of weeks. I mean, they can't manage to get stuff done in months, much less just a couple weeks. They can just dig themselves into an ideological corner all day long. It's not fixing the problem, Fitzpatrick added. We can't live in this fantasy land. But Johnson appears determined to cobble together a healthcare framework that will not include even a short-term extension of the subsidies, which can cut premiums for many families by $1,000 a year or more. He blindsided members with his own leadership circle and senior Republicans who have been involved in healthcare policy work when he announced last week his intentions to hold a vote this month. What healthcare plan, said one of the senior Republicans who have been involved in the talks and was granted anonymity to share a candid reaction to Johnson's pledge. Turning Johnson's promise into legislation has been difficult. As of Tuesday evening, the House GOP framework centered on an expansion of health savings accounts and funding for cost-sharing reductions, a type of Obamacare subsidy meant to reduce out-of-pocket health costs, according to 3 people granted anonymity to discuss the deliberations. While the plan does not currently include a temporary subsidy extension, some House Republicans say it might still be on the table, including Representative Lisa McClain of Michigan and number 4 GOP leader, who said she believed it was still an option as she left the healthcare meeting Tuesday. It's also still to be determined whether the plan will be offered up as a suite of individual bills or packaged together. But the goal is for GOP lawmakers to have something to vote on before the end of this week, according to one of the senior House Republicans involved in the talks, even if there is no time left for the Senate to pass it before the subsidies lapse. So it sounds like even if they do wind up coming up with a plan, they don't plan on literally being able to have the time to vote on it. That they just want to come up with something to announce, be like, hey, this is our plan. But then go on Christmas break and the subsidies expire and we got to face whatever faces in January. While people are like preparing for the new year of insurance, right? And have to lock in on an insurance plan for an entire year. Insurance plans don't work once a month. They're yearly plans that usually have to be, most of the time have to be locked in by like October or November. But so that still for me is like, GOP members will be, sorry, I had to catch myself where I was. GOP members will be briefed on the talks during their closed-door conference meeting Wednesday morning. According to 3 people granted anonymity to discuss internal planning, they will not be presented with a formal plan, they said. The healthcare sprint also comes as Johnson faces down growing displeasure inside the GOP over his leadership style, where he has repeatedly sought to bulldoze internal dissent and march in lockstep with Trump. In this case, Johnson has so far sided with the bulk of his conference who want to see the Obamacare subsidies expire, even though some Trump aides have counseled that an extension would be politically prudent. The White House was on the cusp of endorsing a 2-year continuation of the subsidies just before Thanksgiving, but 2 Republicans on the Hill were not fully consulted first and moved to squash the idea, to the horror of many of the rank and file who favor an extension. I don't think leadership understands just how upset people are, said one House Republican who among several granted anonymity to speak frankly about internal conversations. People are getting desperate. And that's the truth. That's the truth. These people are so disconnected. They just don't understand. They really, truly don't understand. Trump specifically does not understand. Never will. Never can. Never could. In fact, according to 6 other House GOP lawmakers and senior aides with direct knowledge, even Republicans could sign a discharge petition that would sidestep Johnson and force a vote on extending the expiring subsidies. One of those House Republicans said they will be willing to support a discharge of Fitzpatrick's legislation, which largely mirrors the White House trial balloon, or another bill from Representative Jen Keegans of Virginia, and is waiting to see details of what Johnson proposes as an alternative. We shall see, the lawmaker says. Some in the GOP who support an extension have floated a short-term patch until January 30th in order to buy some more time to come up with a deal. Many Republicans in the White House and the Capitol Hill believe that once the tax credits expire, there could be a chance to work out a wider health care deal next month that could tackle issues such as the HSAs and drug prices. While the argument has its merits on paper, people involved in the talks say a short-term punt wouldn't make much sense for people trying to buy health insurance for the entire year and could create major logistical hassles. One of the many problems in the White House isn't providing any clear guidance amid all the internal division. The Trump administration itself has been and still is deeply divided about allowing the Obamacare tax credits to lapse, according to 2 administration officials and 3 senior House Republicans involved in the conversation. It depends on who you ask. One White House official said Tuesday that policy terms are looking at a lot of different avenues. Policy teams are looking at a lot of different avenues, and that their 3 weeks is actually a lot of time for a lot of stuff to come together. However, both House and Senate are set to adjourn for the holidays at the end of next week, or this week rather, I think. Or maybe it is the end of next week. I don't know. The Senate plan now set for a vote Thursday from Senator Bill Cassidy of Louisiana and Matt Crapo probably is Crapo of Indiana, quickly won support inside the GOP this week amid fears that the party would look hapless if they did not put up an alternative. 2 Democrats plan to extend the subsidy for 3 years, but there are still plenty of lawmakers who are anxious about voting to upend the healthcare system, with the deadline looming and no signals from the White House on what Trump would accept. There's just not enough time to do a comprehensive bill. Adding that the expiring subsidies will be a problem for everyone in the GOP. And this is true. This, again, the GOP, the House, Senate, the White House, Republicans all together, crashing something without a plan. That was the whole problem with Doge, where Doge went in and fired all kinds of people, broke into all kinds of agencies, like possibly stole from the Treasury, who knows how much. I mean, they did all that, and then crashing agencies with their firings of federal workers, all to then have to turn around and rehire workers from agency to agency because things could not be done properly, or they needed, in order to do things properly or handle certain issues and stuff, they had to hire back people because the bare bone amount of people that they had held on to could not handle the work, or didn't have the full capacity to deal with all the different issues or all different sections or whatever. So they had hired back, and we're going to talk about in another video about the weather service and how they're having to now hire back people for the weather service because to prepare for things for the cold weather season in winter. I mean, this is what they have been doing. They break things or allow things to break and then be like, well, we'll fix it at some point. Or we'll come up with some way to fix it at some point. The economy is a problem. Oh, well, we'll break the economy with tariffs, raising prices even more than what they already were, just so that we can make some deals and take it back away and fix it. But yet we're not really actually fixing anything that's truly causing a problem with inflation and different markets and stuff that are costing American people, shit tons of money, like the housing market, where we're not really going to fix that, but we'll introduce a 50-year plan that nobody in their right mind should do, and would just do nothing but make the housing market, like the loan makers and banks, shit tons of money. Like, this is all they do is break stuff. And it's the same thing here. They're letting something expire, letting a health department, a health policy expire. so they can have that policy, that system set up crash because they don't like it. But in doing so, a normal person would have something set up to replace it. It's the same kind of concept as don't quit your job without having something to back it up. Like you need to have another avenue before you just quit your job or whatever, whatever. That kind of idea, which they would taunt all day long. But yet, when it comes to this, they want to crash it and not have a plan. They barely even have concepts of a plan, or how to implement it, or how it would work, and whether it would really work. The president just throws out an idea without any, actual framework and how much that would actually help the American people, or whether it would really help the American people. Certainly doesn't address the issues of the health of the insurance and health industry at large. And they're expected to come up with some sort of framework within weeks. It's not going to happen. It just can't happen. But instead of just letting even some sort of short-term extension happen so that you can figure out a plan and come up with something that's actually, could fix or alter or whatever the health system, the insurance coverage, and the, how people pay for their health insurance, you're just going to break it. You're going to let it expire, allow for costs to go up and skyrocket. Prices are already high. And people, no matter what Trump says, all his, $1.99 gasoline, that's not actually a thing. That's a lie. All his energy prices down, those are lies. With everything in growing sentiment in the American people that their lives are not actually substantively improving because they do not think that Trump is effectively addressing the economic issues. When he said from day one he was going to lower prices on everything, just like on day one, he was going to end all the wars. And now, 10 months later, he claims that he ended stuff that he hasn't done shit on. Conflicts that still remain. This is a big problem for the GOP. And the growing sentiment from their base, from their constituents, that there's a problem and it's not being addressed. And they're concerned, and rightfully so. But the GOP is more worried, or let's just say certain members of the GOP are more worried and more ideologically driven to break and crash a program that they know in doing so will harm American people, even if it's in the short term, will harm American people, costing them more money, just for the sake of breaking that system. And with this promise of, well, we'll fix it. It's kind of the same idea when Elon said, our plan for the economy is going to work, even though even if Americans have to go through a rough patch. Sometimes you have to go through a rough patch before it gets better. So it might seem like everything's getting worse, but ultimately, eventually, it's going to get better. It's just a cop-out excuse for if we do fuck some shit up, eventually somehow things will get fixed and they'll get better. At least we hope so. They have no plan. And they're fighting about the plans, the concepts that they do have. They can't agree on them. But the ones that are in the most influence seem to be pushing to just let them go. Or at least some of them. Now, what's interesting is these people that could sidestep and force the subsidy vote to extend it, even if it's just for 30 days, which again begs the question for people who have to, lock in or, on an insurance premium or something, or if they could, to change to something more affordable, would be too late for them to do, potentially. And this is all because this doesn't affect them. None of this affects any of these people. It affects you, but it doesn't affect them. That's the reason why a lot of them don't care. And they're willing to let it break. They're willing to let you suffer so they can get their ideological way. Let you suffer without them actually having anything to solve it. So, but that's the Republican Party. That's what they always do. They break shit without any real solutions for anything. They place policies in that ultimately break services, break the economy, break foreign relations, cause and create more wars or conflicts, more hostility, and don't actually solve anything. Because, quite frankly, they're just all selfish. They're all in it for what benefits them and them only, and what benefits those that are benefiting them, like their donors. Just saying. It's what they do. So don't expect any different. Don't expect for a solution, because they ultimately won't have one. We'll see what goes on. We'll see what happens, I guess, Thursday. And I will be here to let you know. Thank you very much. Let me know what you think about this, though. What you think they should do, what your feelings are about the subsidies or about a new plan, or what their concepts of plans are, and whether you think they will work or not. Let me know. And until next time, peace. Clear Talk. I'm out.